Let me pop out the chats. And yeah, we got some bugs to fix. So yeah, this will be some work. And yeah, I typically, you know, cold or warm, just depending. I don't know why I started doing warm. I should probably just do cold. I think I like the idea of cycling the hot water heater, though, instead of letting the water sit there stagnant. Hey, all right. So that broadcast is good for the tweeter. And yeah, I totally forgot that we scheduled that human centipede. Oh shit, that was the wrong one. Totally forgot that we scheduled the human centipede tweet. That's a spicy tweet. All right, I'll show it here on stream real quick. All right, there we go. Yeah, if you haven't seen that tweet, you've heard me say it here on stream before. Ah, there you go, Two Fools. Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. Yeah, here you go. I don't use a monospaced font in my editor. It only becomes noticeable when I write Go code because the formatter tries to line up the colons. Don't do that. Leave lining up colons to the doctor from the human centipede. But yeah, I actually totally forgot that we scheduled that, like, on Tuesday or something. Yeah. All of these responses are appropriate. All right, so I got a few things I want to fix, right? When we're looking at what we see here, we shouldn't have that side scroll bar. That means that this thing is going wider than it should. So I need to figure that part out. The icon here is broken too. That is separate from our main stuff. But yeah. I'm thinking, let me pour some water. We got to figure out why Shiki doesn't want to run inside of our mark dock. That is actually a huge problem. The place that we have that happening, that we can demonstrate, is over here. So we go to the blog, takes a second, hashing with the best of them, and we get failure. That failure, oh, come on, Mac Mini, you can do it, I believe in you. No? None of my gestures are working? It's like it doesn't recognize it as a proper trackpad? think my Mac Mini needs to reboot, which is incredibly annoying. Yeah, I use the trackpad everywhere. So all of my gestures are working besides the forefinger gestures. Yeah, that is so strange. I think I just need to reboot, but we're not going to do that today. All right, so the part that we're on is that if we look at our blog post here, we've got this right here, and that is failing on us. Oh, so Twofuls. I use a mouse for gaming, right? But that's about it. Really happy with what we ended up getting over here. This is awesome to me. Yeah, that dialogue is great. But yeah, we are not able to do anything with a Shiki highlighted chunk. Now, if I were to go and disable Shiki, like completely, do not track. Ooh, there you go. Nailed it. Well, yeah, Twofuls. I don't do dev on Windows machines. I haven't done dev on a Windows machine in easily 10 years. I almost ended up working on a Microsoft contract when I was at the client agency, and that would have been a Windows machine, and that was a big old note from me. And not just because of the Windows machine, just like the project didn't seem fun at all. All right, so we get 0 syntax highlighting. The little red joystick. If you're on a Lenovo or IBM laptop, sure. They don't have that everywhere, though. All right, so let's look at this. The Shiki stuff broke. and I don't know how to fix it. If we update Shiki, then all sorts of other stuff breaks. Let's look at the migration guide. Yeah, I just don't I don't like how they ship like ads within Windows. I hate like over in the top right of your Windows, do you see that little like double arrow thing? I hate that thing so much. That is the worst added feature I've ever seen. Right? It gets in the way of opening a new tab on all my browsers. Like, who thought that was a good idea? I don't want to click a button and have it go all the way across all my screens. I've never wanted that feature a single time in my entire life. Who thought that button was a good idea? So let's at least see why they did this 1.0 major breaking change stuff. Hold on. So then there was a fort called Shikiji. Wow, they did a lot of like crazy stuff here. All right, so yeah, Shiki and Shikiji merged back. What is 2/? All right, so they're using Hast, which is an HTML AST tool. They were able to then integrate 2/ as a transformer plugin. And what's up, Kayan? How you doing? Yeah, welcome, Raiders. All right, so Nuxt is doing it by default. So what about Shiki, V1, and Astro? Oh yeah, can a mod please pin a reminder about the challenge? That would be great. So Astro uses Shiki by default. I don't like how they throw all of this into one place, but I guess it's fine. So I don't want to do MDX. I want to do Mark Doc. All right, so I probably need to update this. Oh, I don't think I needed fix ESM anymore. All right, 4.8.3 is fine. Probably need to update Astro Icon soon. Astro Toml can stay because it's not changing anything. And yeah, what were you up to today, Kayan? Hmm. Developing the deck builder game. Nice. Made a bunch of the card definitions. Hell yeah. So that right there kind of hints to me that none of that syntax highlighting is actually doing what it needed. And it's not the prose that is doing that. Hmm. So looking at their roadmap, I don't see MarkDoc anymore. MarkDoc support in content collections. All right, so it excludes client-rendered UI components. Okay. Yeah. So if you want to do client stuff, you have to wrap it in an Astro component instead of directly importing it. Sure. All right, so if we look at this, the example usage would then be you do some of this stuff. So this is very much different from the way I ended up wiring things up. So interesting. We're defining our mark.config there. Are we bringing that in anywhere? Those are the only props they support. Interesting. So then back to this part. So we create tags like snippet and boxplot. We've also got nodes right here. We don't have a component for that yet. So that wouldn't make any sense right now. If we look at dock heading here, it would probably end up working similarly to what we're doing here. And we could just call Shiki directly. Yeah, you can do all sorts of stuff. What are the other nodes that we might have access to? Is inline another one? So let's do this. I'm gonna call these. I'm gonna call those fine. Yeah, docs, doc code, doc inline. And we need to create those. So if we do that, this starts rerunning. Do we see it fail in the same way? We see foo, which is what we're looking for. I don't think inline was what I was looking for at all, though. So inline is not it. Let's go look at nodes real quick and see what's in there. So we saw code, which makes sense. What would it be for like an inline chunk of code? I thought that was inline. What's a tag? Let's see what that changes it to. So hold on. What is it calling this node? It's still a code block, actually. But it seems like a different kind of code block. Okay. Excuse me. Oh, hold on. Did I miss it? Is pre in there? No. Let me just reboot. Yeah, something's up there. I would have expected to see foobar for at least one of these chunks. Huh. Oh, and yeah, let's just fix some of those. Oh, we saw the bullshits in there before our font took over. Alright, so we at least fixed these warnings. That helps a little bit. But yeah, when we go back to our mark.config, this doesn't seem to actually be doing what we thought it would. Now, one hack we could do is we just create like a mark.component component that does like the magic that we're trying to do. That's not ideal. If we go and do this, everything breaks, right? I think mainly because that's no longer the same Shiki version that we were used to. Because Astro is using version 1.x by default now. Oh. Oh, it works now. Oh. So updating our Astro MarkDoc plugin was the move. Okay. Well, that's easy. All right. Never mind. So let's get rid of these that we don't need anymore. Yeah, that's way better. Or I just broke everything. Oh, no, we're good. All right, well, problem solved. What's up, John Gemstone? That's a good one. I like that. But all right. Yeah, we're going to call that good. So now we can go back to our blog post and keep hacking at it. All right, so yeah, cool. That was actually a little simpler than I was expecting. I am actually really happy about that. Yeah, so Growthbook's algorithm can be found in their code, in their open source repository. The big difference we noticed is that they don't use the, what is it? FNV32 prime. Another difference is that they use a string-based hash seed value. In password hash. Last but not least, it seems they do a double hash in their latest version so that they get a better distribution, so that they avoid bias. Cool. All right, so I think that's a good paragraph about how Growthbook is doing their stuff. I don't know if we actually need to like link out to their website. I think it's fine this way. Right? We link out to their code. I think that's fine. All right, so speed test time. This is where we're going to be measuring based upon the time value. So yeah, speed distributions over 1,000 iterations. I think I also want to do 100 iterations. So in this first graph, we are iterating over 100 iterations. Actually, I don't think the speed matters as much. When we're doing the distribution stuff, that's where it'll matter more. So yeah, what about distribution? This is where things get fun. We need to know that the algorithm we choose has a decent spread of values. I think I was going to do like decently distributed spread of values, but yeah, decent spread of values across various sample sizes. It will be hard to make anything completely even, anything perfectly distributed. And even harder for a sample size of 100. But once we hit 1,000, it should start to even out a bit. Let's see what that looks like. First, we look at the 100 iteration spread. Hash distribution over 100 iterations. Next, we look at the 1,000 iteration spread. algorithms. For most of our graphs, but you can see all of the algorithms by clicking see full results below each graph. All right, so then first we look at the 100 iteration spread. Next we look at the 1000 iteration spread. These first couple graphs are hashing randomly generated nano ID values. And nano ID we should probably link out. We'll just link to the GitHub. One thing to consider is that not every system will be using strings that are similar to nano ID or UID. Many systems might use incrementing numeric IDs for their users instead. So we should take a look at that too. So then it's raw results int 1000. Integers. All right, so we do that. We'll just say over 1000. Let's do 100. All right, so yeah, it's a bit dense. We definitely need those other sections, but let's look at what we got there and see how we feel about the article so far. So the custom algorithms. Let's take a look at both. First, so yeah, let's move that. Let's take a look at both. And if you do !song, you can typically get a link to the song that I'm playing, unless my bot crashed. So give it a shot. If not, I'll fix it for you. looks like it worked. Yeah, I think we're good. All right, so then one more algorithm, FNB1A. Let's do another algorithm, because we also want to do DNB as well. All right, so while creating this article, someone recommended another algorithm to check out. That was like DNB2 or something like that. No, I forgot the name already. DJB2. The algorithm is called DJB2. So it uses some different magic numbers, namely 5381 and 33. Yeah, no worries, Sam. Have a good one. All right, so then speed testing, then these bits. We should try and understand the values and explain a little bit of them, but, right, understanding the results is important. In the wrapping up, we'll talk about how we're switching to FND1A. But let's at least look at the results now and see how it goes. So yeah, this is the timing-based stuff. Oh, and yeah, we're going to have some typos to fix for sure. All right, so then we look at the 1,000 iteration and things even out a bit. DJB2 does admirably. Custom does admirably. But I'm messing something up there. Yeah, hold on. Upper bound, lower bound. Where was that 10,000 coming from in the quantiles? We should not be seeing 100,000 there. That hints that we're passing 100 somewhere instead of 1,000. Oh, I know where it is. I know. It's over in our mark.config. That was it. It's gonna take a second to re-render, but that was it. Yeah, it was a mark.config issue. Because we're not passing it, it's doing defaults for us, and those defaults are getting passed through. All right. Yeah, that looks way better. All right, and then finally, one thing to consider. Let's look at 100 for this. And we see that gram hash, while being fast, does not do a good distribution. And we're not sure why. We also see that my custom hash does not do a great distribution. And neither does DJB2. And that's over 100 iterations. What does it look like for 1,000? It's actually about the same. Hold on. Did I just pass the wrong value there? I did. All right, so then for 100 iterations, our custom algorithm is the fastest, but it's not a good distribution, and DJB2 and Gram hash also have a really poor distribution there. So then FNV1A or the growth book ones look pretty good. Once we start seeing MD5, we can see that, you know, MD5 just isn't that fast comparatively, right? SSL3 MD5, the other MD5 isn't even in this list so far. If we look at it and try to find it, MD5 itself, yeah. So slower by like an order of magnitude. So then, now time for 1,000 iterations. And Gram hash still doesn't evenly distribute. Neither does our original custom algorithm or DJB2. But FNV1A ends up getting close enough. Like, really close. Right? The growth book versions of things end up being really close too. Especially, for some reason, the 32-bit ends up being hashed better than the 64-bit version, which I find interesting. Okay. And yeah, I'd say at 3:30, whiskey time. I think it's whiskey time. Wow, this was a fresh bottle yesterday. I really put it down yesterday, didn't I? Attack Banana, you're saying save it to the database? No, right? The entire goal is to decouple this from the rest of your system. You're still going to have a front end that needs to do things, right? You're going to have other things that might not even be tied to your database. Why would you want to connect them to your DB when you can just pass the user ID that you're hashing, right? Think microservices. I think you're making the same assumption that someone earlier made, that tying this to your database is actually a good idea. I don't think it is. Because then you have to actually modify API endpoints that would bubble this up to your front end for you. Right? How do you make it consistent across machines? That's where the database would come in. But again, like anything that involves making an entirely new API endpoint is a bad idea. Or modifying existing endpoints for things like flags. Also, just a bad idea. Think about it in terms of maybe something at the scale of Netflix. They have their main canonical source of truth API, right? for you to get them to modify that API for you and your micro front end or your like small application, it's not going to happen. There's so many layers of red tape and bureaucracy. When instead, you don't even need to touch the database or their API, and you just have this hashing algorithm that works the same, just hashing an ID that you pass it. Right? You might be thinking from the approach of an indie hacker that can modify their one application real easy, no problem. That's not the main use case for feature flags. So Charlie, you're saying same function of a JWT? When you're doing something like a JWT, you may have something like a user ID attached to that as part of the payload. And that would then be what you might want to hash against for a microservice. Right? But you wouldn't want to attach like the bucket that they're in as part of that payload, because that is then brittle and stale, and dealing with a stale bucket value on your JWT is way worse. Right? So the idea being you need to have data that won't change if you're going to have it as part of a JWT. Because otherwise, the headache of invalidating that JWT and forcing it to be refetched, that's super annoying. So user ID, good job. User name, that's where it's getting weird, because that's something the user can change. So you have to be very careful about the things that you embed into the payload of a JWT. I've actually dealt with that before on projects where the backend person thought, yeah, we'll just attach it, you know, send that data to you in the JWT. And then a user goes to change it, and then you have to do the shenanigans of forcefully getting a new JWT and all that, rather than just making that an API request. Yes, exactly. Supposed to be unique and immutable. That's also the main goal. If it's something that can change over time, you're just giving yourself a headache for later. As a good example, right? The user ID will never change, but the email could totally change. And then that creates all sorts of weird issues. Yep. Exactly. I've definitely worked on projects where we got cheeky about the stuff that we attached to the JWT, and it was actually just a really bad idea. So that's another big point I want to make. Some of these things you only learn after doing it wrong. Right? Because we learn more from mistakes than we do from success. All right, vitamin D time real quick. All right, so I do want to do some of this stuff, right? Like summarizing what we see in the graphs afterwards. So speed-wise, an important thing to note is that we are only graphing the 5% to 95% distribution. the outliers ended up making the graphs less useful. It's worth mentioning that the fastest algorithms also had some of the slowest outliers. So the main thing we can discern from this graph is that the non-cryptographic algorithms are inherently faster. Are generally faster. That should come as no surprise. But it seemed worth calling. So then what about distribution? So let's actually consider the distribution of these. The biggest thing to recognize is that our assumption about hashing over a small sample set is going to be less evenly distributed for almost all algorithms. You actually implemented your own A/B testing workflow for the marketing site at work, and since you couldn't add the variation to the main DB, you created a Vercel edge config which stored the bucket they belong to, but you didn't test it for performance. Yeah, no, that does seem like an interesting thing, for sure. Yeah, at the end of the day, I think I probably end up wanting to like have a like a recipe or a guide about how you might do that for anonymous users, right? Because it's going to be local storage where you store it. You know, you just generate them a brand new nano ID and call it good. Is it necessary to store that anywhere? I don't think so, actually. Right? Other than local storage. Now, you will send it through with your telemetry, right? The way that you're measuring success of the A or B. But other than that, I don't know if that's important. So, I don't know. But yeah, great point. I think, yeah, I definitely need to have a guide about like, yes, if you want to like test with anonymous users, one thing you can do is generate an ID and blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, I think I definitely need a guide for that. Because our guides are somewhat lacking anyway. Right? We only got the one so far for like creating a client SDK. And maybe guide isn't the right place. I think guide does make sense though. Let me look at docs again. Maybe I have like a recipes section there that I forgot about. No, I don't. So yeah, I would say, yeah, over in the guides is where I'd want to address that. Probably also maybe like talk about like your API, understanding that someone has a stale flag. How do you report that? We have that on like the old site, but I need to update that. All right, so looking back at what we're doing here, let's close some more of these things that we probably don't need anymore. Oh, hold on. I forgot to actually link DJB2. All right, so then I can close that. Smapple. All right, so then we continue to look. Right, less evenly distributed. Even though MD5 gets pretty good. So yeah, biggest thing to recognize is that our assumption about hashing over a small sample set is going to be less evenly distributed for almost all algorithms. Once we get to 1,000 items, they all start to perform similarly. One major thing to consider is that not every system will be using strings that are similar to nano ID or UUID. Many systems might use incrementing numeric IDs for their users instead. So we should take, we should take a look at that too. Let's see the 100 iterations again. And then it's time for the 1,000 iterations. This shows some glaring defects in how our original custom implementation grams hash implementation and I think, yeah, DJB2 also suffers, right? And DJB2 all perform much worse with integers. At this point, it might be obvious why Growthbook chose FNV1A. Our implementation of FNV1A more closely resembles the textbook definition on Wikipedia. So we decided, right, we're going to treat this as past tense because we just got to go do some refactoring real quick. To even though the growth book implementation is MIT licensed. One odd thing we noticed is that the 64-bit version of Growthbook's algorithm has a worse mean and distribution than the 32-bit version. We aren't sure why that is. But it is interesting nonetheless. Right, so despite the much faster runtime of the custom DJ B2 and Graham. Oops. Right, at this point it might be obvious. Let's try and think about how we phrase this last bit. And yeah, I think from here, once we have this, I'm going to actually push this up to a pull request, and if anyone wants to help me review these things, that would be really useful. Right? Like typos or things that you think could be worded better, stuff like that. I would definitely welcome feedback on the PR after we get it up into a PR. As a separate PR, I will go and start, I think today, we could probably do it pretty quick. We're going to switch over the algorithm we're using from our custom one to FNB1A, because I think that's useful, which means we're going to have to update some of our tests as well. But once we dug into it more, it became fascinating to us. Right? We do the marketing part at the end. Right? Let's make it as marketing bullshitty as we can. Boom, right? Something. That is used for gradual releases. The original algorithm we came up with for Vexilla 0.x is very simple, but does exactly what we needed at the time. It is not a cryptographically secure algorithm and is never intended to be so because we expect there to be collisions. This is for releasing a feature out to a specific percentage of your users, not password hashing. So yeah, the date we publish on, let's just call it, I don't know, 21. And we should come up with another image of how we do this. Right, so SDK language versions, we don't care about that. Let's go to Unsplash and let's find an image real quick. Ricky, that is power mode. And it's just good old-fashioned family fun. But okay, so let's search some high-resolution images and let's think about it. What would we want to do for hashing? Let's just type in hashing and see what happens. Oh, now I'm hungry. Thanks. Oh. Now I'm even hungrier. Thanks. Sorry, bad joke. Sorting. kind of like this one. I don't think trash is the right thing I want to do. Like, I don't think it sends the right vibe. Hash browns appeared. Yeah, exactly. What's up, Diego? How you doing? Yeah, I like this first one. I think it's good. And what's up, Emo Giraffe? How you doing? So, hashing with the best of them. Do we think a better title might be good? What's in a hash? Oh, yeah, instead of what's in a name. I like that. Gradual release hashing. And yeah, I'm good. How about you, Emo? What are you doing? Anything fun? And yeah, what are you up to there, Diego? Yeah, I'm going to call this good. I think we are pretty much set. What do we want to call this branch? This is blog hash distribution. I don't do any of the coding for this off stream. Not a single bit. The only thing I've done off stream is publishing packages, because that tends to involve like juggling, like, you know, like keys for NPM and things like that, Rust, etc. And I find that boring if I have to like switch over to the hacking screen, so I can't show that. I like to avoid any of the things that I just can't show you on stream. Right. So that stuff I might do offline, but that's basically just publishing releases. I haven't done any of this work off stream. And I think that's important because I want to show the entire process. Could I have gotten more done? Maybe. I just feel like it cheapens the experience if there's like I'm magically like hand waving away parts that I did off stream. That's less fun to me. Because the goal is like to show the actual dev process here on stream. Does it make it somewhat less entertaining sometimes? Maybe. But I think that's actually detrimental to people, right? Like it causes even more like imposter syndrome. Because people might never see you like struggle working on something. And that just makes them feel like more of an imposter in their own lives. So instead, I'm building something like this. I consider it somewhat advanced. If you never saw me struggle on it, it would give you a false representation of what actually goes into coding like this. I mean, X Factor, a big part of why I started streaming is because I wasn't working on my side projects on my own time. Right? I'm not that motivated on my own time. Here on stream, I'm not able to go and just like crawl Reddit for an hour and where'd the time go, you know? I'm not able to just keep scrolling Twitter. So here on stream, I'm actually more motivated to get stuff done than I am off stream. Like for side projects especially. For work, you know, that's work. Gotta do work. But for my own stuff then, stream is actually a major motivator. And it might seem like, oh man, he gets distracted chatting with people. You guys can't distract me nearly as bad as I distract myself. I think one big part of it is I've already had more people involved and interested in Vexilla than I ever would have working on it off stream and then just like tweeting about it, you know? So yeah, I think any indie hacker should be building their products on stream because it's free marketing at that point, right? It's free user feedback. It's free all sorts of stuff. You know, when people are asking, why wouldn't I just hash it into a bucket and store that in the database? I get to practice responding to that, which I think makes it even easier for me to actually like explain it out to other people in the future. Yeah, exactly, Emo Giraffe, right? Like, if I just hopped over to Twitter and crawled Twitter for an hour here on stream, number one, most of my audience would disappear. And number two, like, yeah, that'd be just weird and embarrassing, you know? Now, I do hop over there every once in a while, because I think that's still kind of fun. And we need to take breaks. We need to discuss things. Yeah, exactly, Lord Roast Beef. Yeah. Yeah, we all get to like learn about these things together, right? The foot guns of building your own feature flag tool. You should probably be using a service, even if it isn't Vexilla. You should probably be using a service. And yeah, I don't know. I just love streaming now, too. I'm stoked that there's 45 people willing to just, you know, either watch intently or just treat me as background noise while they're doing their own thing. Yes, exactly. Yep. If your feature flags are tied to your deploy process, even if they aren't environment variables, they're glorified environment variables. Yep. Hell yeah. Yeah, I'm happy to just share and chat about stuff. It's super fun, isn't it? All right, so hold up. We got a couple more things we want to add. We do the public. We want to do... Oop. That package... .json? Oh, I don't want to do a CD. We want to do that and that. It is helpful, absolutely. Yeah. Right? The thing that you're studying. Explain it to people while you're doing it. By explaining it, you actually cement it in your brain better. Right? There's multiple levels of learning and understanding something. There's, you've never heard about it, and that's 0. There's, I've heard about it, and I started reading about it maybe. That's like a 1. A level 2 is, I've actually messed with it and done something with it. Number 3 might be, you know, like, I consider myself not an expert, but proficient at it. And then level 4 is, I can actually explain it to other people. Plenty of people get to level 3 and never actually progress to level 4, and their understanding of something is less at that point, because they can't rephrase it than just the way that it made sense to them. When instead, once you can actually rephrase and, you know, make a point in multiple different ways, your understanding of that is like so much more like multifaceted, like, you know, so much more like all-encompassing. And that's really what makes a good teacher as well. They're able to explain things in different ways to people. Just being able to know it isn't the same as being able to explain it. Okay, that makes sense. So yeah, I'm in good company. I kind of am. Yeah, exactly. I'm okay with that. It means that if some company wants to swoop me up to be a dev advocate for feature flagging, I think I'm a good fit. Now, granted, I don't think it's a good time, right? So timing isn't a good fit, because I still want to give Vexilla the old college try. And then there's a conflict of interest with that, which is why I didn't apply to Growthbook, even though they had an open DevRel role that I think was right up my alley. I think DevCycle had a role at one point. Couple companies had roles that I think I would have been a good fit for, but the conflict of interest thing. All right, so this is feet, blog, or maybe it's docs/blog. And add blog post about hash distribution and algorithms. It probably should have been algorithms and distribution, but whatever. All right, so we're gonna make a pull request, and I encourage you all to comment on it, do things like that. What I might also try and do is, if people want to make like, you know, you could make a PR to my PR, but there's also the aspect of GitKraken that is code suggest, or code suggestions. I think it's code suggest. I'd love it if some people could help me dog food that a bit, because I don't have as much experience with it as I should, and it's kind of my job to be a bit more of an expert on the things that we produce at GitKraken. Oh, and that's crashed right now. That's fine. Let's just go to the GitHub I'm going to do less the code suggest thing in here, but if people want to use it, then they can. Alright, so we can wait to publish that out. If anyone wants to give it a little bit of a shot, you know, help maybe comment about typos, etc. on the PR, that'd be really awesome. Be a whole lot cooler if you did. No stress if not, though. We'll leave it going for a couple days, probably. And then, yeah, in the meantime, I think it also means that hold on, I need to do some of this. Let's do PNPM start just to rebuild things. We're going to add pretty much everything else that we got in there. And we're going to push this up. And we probably want to actually like link out to this repo that we have. We'll just add everything. Yeah. All right, so we've at least got that pushed up now. Some of those files are a bit big. And yeah, so the best way of learning something, in your opinion, is unintentional learning. Like children learning their mother language as they grow up. They don't really intend to learn it, but you just end up learning it. That's how you learned using the computer. I can see that, sure. I think there's room for both. One thing I kind of like, I think I agree with you on is don't waste time memorizing things that you can easily look up, right? That's an Einstein quote, I'm pretty sure, but I'd have to look it up. But instead, just recognize that if you use something often enough, you're going to memorize it without even trying. So, right, like intentional memorization is definitely not necessary. Intentional learning, important sometimes. Unintentional, also important. But intentional memorization is increasingly less useful. Because if it's something you use often enough, you're going to learn it and memorize it anyway. All right, so I think we can close that tab. We can definitely close that one. Definitely need to do stuff for the custom next hotel, so we'll leave that still. Vexilla apps, client Elixir, we can probably close that one. This was an hotel thing. Get auth and repos we could fix, which means we can probably get rid of that. Being curious about the why helps? I'll say yes and no. I think it does help, like, solidify learning and memorization. But at some point, you can just accept that things are true and be productive instead. I'm trying to think of a good example of that. I think, personally, that's why I was able to, like, just, like, do things in school. Does it mean that I learned as much? I don't know, not necessarily. But I don't need to, like, I don't need to know the why of Pythagorean theorem. I just need to know the theorem, you know? I don't need to know the entire process that led to him discovering it. I just need to know the formula, right? And that allows me to be more productive than a lot of my peers, at least back in, like, high school and stuff. I don't need to do the homework. I don't need to ask why. I just need to accept that some things are just true. And I can move on with my day and just solve the problem at hand. No, I'm not saying you worded it wrong. I'm just saying that I think there's, like, a little bit of an edge case to that, where, like, sometimes just accepting that something is true is worth more than trying to figure out why it's true. And that's, you know, a slippery slope. I agree that it doesn't apply to every situation, but there are some things where you can just accept it rather than having to worry about why or how. Right? When something is, even though it's called a theorem, if it's inherently true based upon every use case and no one's disproved it in 1,000 years, you can just accept it as fact, even if there's theorem in the name. I think that was one of my, like, superpowers for learning growing up. I don't know if I was one of those kids that, you know, asked, like, why? Well, you know, like, why is the sky blue? Well, because of the way that our eyes perceive color and blah, 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 and, like, the spectrum. Okay, why? Because that's how evolution made our eyes work, possibly to interpret poisonous plants and flowers or snakes, etc. Why? You know, like, at some point, why doesn't help you anymore. And I'm curious if I was one of those kids that did the endless, like, why chain, or if I just accepted things. Now, granted, that does end up biting you at some point, because my mom told me that balding comes from the mother's side of the family. I just accepted that as true, because my mom said it. It turns out that's an old wives' tale that is no longer true. Balding comes from both sides of your family, and it's been proven that way. But I never questioned it or decided to learn more about it until someone else asked me why. You know? You know? There's things like that, for sure. So it's a double-edged sword, right? Just being able to accept a fact from someone that you treat as an authority. Exactly. Yeah, for sure. Lord roast beef. It's actually like a thing that people accepted as fact until studies actually proved it wrong. In a similar way, people thought ulcers were from stress until in like 2011 or 12, some doctor was like, no, I'm pretty sure it's this bacteria. No one believed him. He wasn't allowed to test on people because that violates the Geneva Convention. So instead, well, I'm going to consume this bacteria And lo and behold, 3 days later, the dude had ulcers. After that, he took some antibiotics and they cleared up. At some point, it is worth questioning conventional wisdom. But knowing when and where to do that is also a skill. But all right, so the next thing we want to do is we want to refactor all of our hashing algorithms to use FNV1A instead of our really naive custom algorithm. Now, hold on. What did we modify about this new spec? The version and the logo. So yeah, we got to get those published up at some point, but now's not the moment. We'll leave that for now, and we can move on. I think it does mean that we're going to want to, like, we're going to have to modify the C# package anyway. Oh, that's a good way of thinking about that, Emo Giraffe, right? Yeah, Euclidean geometry, right? Like the XY graph that we all know and love, right? The quadrants, etc. That XY graphing, that is Euclidean geometry at this point, right? The way to think about that. All of that is built upon 5 simple intuitive things that actually have no rigorous proofs, but everything we do mathematically in geometry is really kind of based upon those things being true. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, good call. Hold on, let me double check on the tweeter, just in case. Ooh, I had an Amazon package that should have been delivered today. Still arriving today by 9 p.m.? Motherfuckers. Alright, well. Let's hope they can do it tomorrow. Because, yeah, I got a skateboard tool. I got a fake beard and some fake mustaches. I've got a package of fake beards as well. And 3 types of fake glasses. I actually want to do one of those like shorts or like YouTube things where, right, because GitKraken is all about like meeting developers where they work, I want to showcase how a team might be passing things along from person to person. One person might be the GitKraken desktop user. One person might be the GitLens user. One person might be on their phone using gitkraken.dev. And then the final person might be using like the CLI tool. All of them using Launchpad to understand what thing they're working on and to, like, you know, do their work or whatever. I haven't written the script yet for it. I probably should have done that before I bought fake beards and mustaches. But also, those just seem kind of fun. Yeah, I think it'll be good. I think it'll be pretty solid. Right? Now, I'll have just, like, different beanies and hoodies on. But also with, like, beards and stuff, right? We got to keep branding, obviously. We got to keep the branding of beanies and hoodies. Duh. We'll see. It's possible. Oh, yeah, I could get a couple good emotes out of them. That's not a bad idea. I like that. That's a good plan. That's a really good plan. And yeah, how close are we? How close are we? We're at 90%. Oh, man. We just need 40... 45, 46 people? We need 46 people over the next couple days. 3 days left. Today, I won't be here tomorrow. So then it's just, yeah, Monday and Tuesday? Maybe just Monday. We need 46 people between now and Monday to donate 2K. There you go, baby corn. So yeah, we're getting there. But it's cutting it down to the wire. Yeah, it's going to be really close. It's going to be really close. I do need to use the restroom, so give me a sec. And here's what I'm thinking, right? We have our streamiversary on like the 6th or something. Yeah, I need a mod to pin that message, right? So any mod that's out there, please make a comment, pin the message, do whatever you got to do. I could probably figure it out too. But yeah, maybe it's something we do on the anniversary stream, which is really in just a couple weeks. So yeah, let me use the restroom. I'll be right back. June 6th, I think. All right, and I am back.
Thanks for the support.
Honestly, we can leave that one. I think I'm fine with that. For some reason, the bot did not shout that one out. I think I can probably guess. Let's try.
villain name. Madame Malice was once Betty Anderson, a brilliant biochemist. An experimental serum went horribly wrong, granting her the ability to manipulate minds through pheromones. She now uses her powers to orchestrate chaos and control influential figures from the shadows. Clad in a sleek, dark ensemble, she always carries a specialized perfume bottle filled with her pheromone serum, turning even the strongest-willed into her puppets. Her arch-nemesis, the sentient shield, is immune to her mind control abilities due to their unique inorganic physiology. Driven by revenge and a desire for power, Madame Malice stops at nothing to bend the world to her whims.
Madame Malice. Yeah, so we have it set in the way we do it to, like, you know, if it's an offensive name, try and imagine what their name would be otherwise. So yeah, we've kind of set it up to not let Butt Plug Betty be read out by the bot, because it might not. So at least, like, yeah, we get something out of it. But ooh, my grip tape is at least at the at my PO box. So yeah, tomorrow on gaming stream, right, on chill stream while we're co-working, I will be at least taking some time to build out my skateboard setup. Because I got the trucks, I got the wheels, I got the bearings, I got the hardware. A tool is coming. I think I got enough tools that I could do it otherwise, but having a good skate tool is worthwhile. And then, yeah, the grip tape was delivered, so I got to go just pick that up tomorrow. So yeah, I haven't had a legitimate skateboard setup for years. It means that, yeah, I'm probably going to have to go try it out and do some skating. I'm not that good of a skater. My little brother is much better than me. He did like stairs and rails and all that stuff. I am an old school trick style skater. I can boneless and, you know, like Casper stall and like some of that stuff. I think Theo's still a better skater than me, even at the old school stuff. But I might have a couple tricks that he'd at least go, oh, about, which is a big win. Your goal as a non-good skater is at least doing something that makes good skaters go, oh. So I'm going to say that right now. I can't do flip tricks for the life of me. I never learned how to kick flip. I was able to do heel flips at one point. Shove-its are easy. You know, of course I could do a shove-it. But I can do like fast plants and bonelesses, and yes, there is a difference. You know, off like a moderate drop, I can do a Benihana, like a quick one. Stuff like that. And I'm talking like, I won't do a drop higher than like 3 or 4 feet. I'm old man, you know. Skateboarding isn't really a knees thing. Skateboarding is an ankles thing. And yes, I hate rolling my ankles, so yeah, that's a problem. I don't know many skateboarders that have knee problems. I'm gonna throw that out there. Ankles? Oh, yeah. Ankles are a big thing. Wrists are a big thing. Yeah, knees are like a skiing and snowboarding thing. More so than skating, for sure. It's really fun. You know, there's a skate park just a couple blocks away. I'll want to make sure I get there nice and early in the morning before the kids get there. But, you know, after that, we're good to go. But yeah, so please, anybody that is interested, if you want to help me by doing some proofreading, even just calling out typos I made, things like that, that would be worthwhile. What do you mean by a block? Oh, like the distance a block is? Ooh, I mean, it changes from city to city, but there's usually like some kind of standard for it. Average distance of a block. So the standard block in Manhattan is 264 by 900 feet. In Chicago, it's 330 by 600, right? So a block is really determined based upon, like, you know, which, like, axis are you talking about? So about 16 east to west blocks, the shorter ones, per mile, or 8 per mile otherwise. I think the 8 per mile thing is typically the way that people kind of think about it. So a couple blocks is like half a mile away, right? Like couple blocks meaning like, you know, 2 to 4. I actually thought it was more like 4 blocks, but no, it's definitely like, yeah, 8 seems like more accurate. A block is basically like the distance between intersections. If that makes sense, right? With a lot of European cities that were built out before the invention of cars, their definition of a block is actually much smaller. Right? In newer cities that were designed around being drivable, they probably all kind of like fit within the same like size of a block. Yeah, so terawatt, like, I think that's the big thing. If you're talking about some of the European cities like Florence or Naples or blah, 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 right? Like, those are very, very small blocks, right? Because it's more about, like, walkability, at least back when it was designed, versus drivability. And what up, Arclight? How you doing? Yeah, what are you up to? What's everyone up to? Is everyone enjoying their Saturday? Are we chilling? I think we're chilling. Every civil engineer I know would say you are dead wrong about that, Emo. Like, dead wrong. And floatability, like Venice. Touche. Yeah, Bedtime Bear, you out there? Bedtime Bear is a former civil engineer. I also know another... I don't know if it was civil engineering versus just like architectural engineering, but I know someone from Meetups who's really cool and awesome, who's getting into dev because the engineering, like, you know, architectural engineering world sucks, right? So many people graduate with degrees in it and have nowhere to go but like the top companies. So the top companies know that they can just charge way less. Had a rough Friday, too many drinks. I don't know what you're talking about. But you're taking it easy today and playing with your microcontroller. Yeah, sweet. That sounds fun. So yeah, anyone here that considers themselves a writer, please, again, I'm going to keep shouting it out a little bit before we hop into the code part of things. I need your help making the blog post that I've written, right? Over here, we can go look at it. The part that's important is actually this file right here, right? Oh, and it's a large file. Yeah, this one right here. So the hash distribution file. I need your help in making this better. Right? Content-wise, etc. Maybe not that file specifically, like box plot, less important, But this mdoc file, this is where I need your help. All right? Help me rephrase things as needed, etc. So really, like, this part. Oh, that's not what I was looking for. Here we go. That's the link. So yeah, help me proofread and, you know, help me fix my typos and other stuff in there. I would really appreciate it. If not, yeah, we'll do it later today, maybe, like, as we're wrapping up. I think that's fine. Maybe, like, when we first start on Monday. I don't know. We'll figure it out. No, like, we totally could. I don't want it to feel like an AI wrote it, though. So instead, I just want to, like, fix typos. That's all. And I think this is more of a way for, like, if you want to do that, go for it and propose changes. I think it's a good way to just get people involved in the repo, right? If you want to make an open source contribution, this is one of the easiest open source contributions you could do. Right? Just proofreading. Mr. ChatGPT, we could, but I think it's more fun if you guys want to do it, go for it. I will personally just read it myself and edit it. I'd rather do that than ChatGPT, personally. I get it, that's fine. If that's the way you work, go for it. It's not the way I work. I actually get little value from, especially like ChatGPT for pros. It ends up feeling just like ChatGPT if you overuse it. And I think that's actually a negative aspect of a lot of writing. So I'd like to keep this as like real as we can. But something that does help me find typos and stuff, I think that's worthwhile. I don't like the way that ChatGPT and other AI phrases things. It feels very sterile rather than human. I'm sure that'll change over time, but right now it's kind of easy to spot content written by ChatGPT, right? It has certain phrases that it tends to prefer over others. And at that point, like, it like hits on uncanny valley for a lot of people when they're reading it, and I don't want that. I'm not anti-AI. All I'm getting at is I want this to feel real, rather than like I just pass it through some bullshit. I'm not anti-AI. I'm anti-AI in certain contexts. Right? I'm using tab 9. That uses AI. I'll switch to Copilot at some point just for it. Flow GPT? I've never even heard of it. No idea. I don't even know what that is. Right? I think this is a case where keeping it real goes right. But I think we've all seen Chappelle's show. There are definitely instances of keeping it real going wrong. So yeah. Oh no. We gotta optimize as we see fit. There's no right or wrong. There's just simply is. Yeah, Commander Griffin. I mean, that's actually something we've heard before. MCCM Griffin G is another one we've heard before. Chappelle is a legend. He's great, for sure. I don't know about him nowadays. You know, I'm not trying to get on any side of some political bullshit, which he seems to really like doing. But as far as his, like, older stand-up, ooh, I really like that stuff, right? Always fear that white dude in a group of gangbangers, because you don't know what he's done to earn their respect. That's a good bit, right? The part where he's like talking about like the baby out on the street selling stuff, right? Like, what you doing out here, baby? Yeah, those stand-ups are really good. Yeah, those ones are great, for sure. Right? Our white dude friend walked up to the cop, right? Starts saying some weird stuff. Like, the cop's just like, take it easy. You're on 3rd Street. Right? Those stand-up bits are timeless. Like, super good. I'm a big fan of separating the art from the artist. I don't know Chappelle as a person. I'm not trying to speak about that. I don't know about his stuff nowadays, but those stand-ups back in the day, we're talking like 15 years ago, classic. Graham Linehan. I probably would not enjoy having a conversation with that dude, because he would steer it towards the shit that he rants about on social media. But man, I really like the shows he made. My opinion on Matt Rife? I find jokes about Matt Rife funnier than Matt Rife's stand-up, typically. I think Matt Rife is a better subject of humor than actually like a humorist. And what's up, Four Wheel? Thoughts on Jimmy Carr? I don't know much about him. He does do some good like roast style like comedy. I feel like though Jimmy Carr and Matt Rife have the same problem. Some of the stuff that people yell out from the crowd are kind of like obvious plants. Right? Like so much of their audience interaction feels like forced. That's fine. I don't care about the dark humor part as much. Like, I don't know. But their audience interaction does feel, like, staged. I like dark comedy. I'm a big fan of Bill Hicks. But Bill Hicks felt, like, so much more, like, organic, you know? Whereas Jimmy Carr's, like, dark stuff feels so much more, like, polished and produced. That's a good way of describing that. Yeah. Almost feels fake. Yep, I'll agree with that. My favorite comedian is Bill Hicks. If you want to get like a watered down version of Bill Hicks, check out Dennis Leary. So emo. No, Jimmy Carr is British. Matt Rife is American. Yes. What about Bill Burr? Bill Burr's great. Yeah, Bill Burr is fantastic. Yeah. Jeff R. Curry. Yes, filter. Jeff R. Curry's audience interaction feels like truly organic, right? He feels real. Matt Rife's feels forced. Jeff R. Curry's fantastic. Like, really well done. I'm always stoked when a Jeff R. Curry clip, like, you know, bubbles up to the front page of Reddit. So X Factor, he's one of, like, if you ever, like, crawl Reddit without logging in, you're going to see stuff bubble up to the front page. And Jeff R. Curry is one of the most, like, most popular of those. There's other comedians that bubble up too, but man, yeah. Jeff R. Curry. Just, yeah, he seems authentic. He seems real. Like, it's solid. It is a very different experience. Exactly. Reddit logged in, they curate stuff to you. Not logged in, you get all sorts of stuff. And it gets a little weird. Ooh, the Mr. Bill, like, oh no! Yeah, the old school Mr. Bill stuff is good. What do you think about that, Mr. Bill? Oh no! I'm like, yeah, that voice? Yeah. That's old school, though. That is like, yeah, that's real old. Like I said, I'm an aspiring voice actor. If they want to bring Mr. Bill back, I'm auditioning tomorrow. There you go. Yeah, like, old SNL is classic, right? Like, really good. I will say, Humble Web Dev, that one's probably less okay these days, but I think it's still appropriate. As long as you don't, like, there's some episodes that are maybe, like, meaner than they should be, whereas the other ones are, like, yeah, I'm pretty sure a bunch of people from that world would be totally fine with it. Whereas, like, some of them go too far. So not every episode of that duo holds up, but I think a bunch do. Sure, it makes sense, but we gotta be careful about these conversations there, Humble Web Dev, right? You gotta be careful about that. You gotta phrase it the right way. We don't want to alienate anybody, right? Everyone has things that are worth laughing about, but the moment it becomes, like, malicious, it's just not fun for anyone. And it's hard, right? Like, yeah, just... Yeah. No. I think we're good. I think we're, like, skirting the line just right. I think we're okay. But it's very possible to mess it up. Yeah. And that's actually the power of comedy. It's something where it should be okay to say something offensive in comedy, because we do need to have that, like, level of, like, escapism, right? Because being too safe can go too far as well. Right? So I think comedy, like stand-up, etc., that needs to be a safe place to say things that are possibly offensive. Because the moment you start, like, making anything offensive something that no one's allowed to say ever again, you end up losing a lot of power there. Right? Like, the entire reason stand-up comedy is the way it is because people like George Carlin, people like Lenny Bruce actually went to jail for the comedy they did, right? Just by swearing. The 7 words you can't say on TV, right? That kind of stuff, right? George Carlin and Lenny Bruce actually went to jail for freedom of speech, basically. And I think that speech, in the right context, is okay. But just out and about during your normal day in life? No, come on. You're not at a comedy club. Right? There you go, verbs. Yeah, 80s rocks guys. Yeah, like Twisted Sister, etc., right? Right? The fact that, like, conservatives were the ones trying to get Twisted Sister not on the radio anymore, and now they use that "We're Not Gonna Take It" song as if they forgot 30 years of history? Come on. Come on. Can't believe Rage Against the Machine went woke. Who do you think they were talking about in their songs? Like, dude. Like, come on, man. Yeah, that's the craziest part to me. Always has been. And he never got banned? Yikes, Heister. I just want to say, I don't want the conversation going that way at all, so I'm going to delete it just because I don't care about people replying to that. I don't want that conversation here. Yes, I get it. That stuff exists, but this is not the place for it. Yeah, sorry, Heister. Like, yeah, that's not a conversation I want to have here whatsoever. Sorry. I appreciate you. Like, you know, I understand the point you're making. Twitch is somewhat lax on some of this stuff, but then in other cases, they're not. And we don't want to ride that line in any major way. And no, I get it, Heister, but also, I think it was a bit much. That's all. So, appreciate you. Not going to judge you for it or anything, but just definitely not a conversation I want to have here. I know, I'm at fault for even steering it that way a little bit, talking about comedians. You know, I'll take the blame for things going off the rails a bit. But I will at least, like, put my foot down and say, like, we're not going to go that far. So yeah, anyway, hope we're still good. What's in the cup today? Whiskey and water. I gotta watch the calories a little bit. No, I don't have the lemonade. The lemonade has the sugar in it that I just don't need the calories of. Yeah. Whiskey and water is actually a thing. At least I think. Yeah, exactly, Terawatt, right? We gotta be careful. I get it. I understand, you know, and I take the blame for, like, steering us that way at all. When you add water to whiskey, you always find it becomes very rough. Exactly, Emo. Yep. Nah, no ice. Ice is just so much extra work. Ugh. Like, hard to drink? I mean, Heister, I would say, like, water it down more. I'm talking like I did one like whiskey shot worth of whiskey and the rest was water. Right? That ends up being something where if you're trying to like understand the flavor profile of a whiskey, watering it down heavily allows you to like let it sit in your mouth and understand like the entirety of the flavor, you know? You can get the subtle notes way easier. I don't know. I think heavily watered down whiskey is actually a thing. Maybe it's not as popular. Maybe it's not as well accepted. But you can understand the whiskey you're drinking at a more specific level by being able to actually like sip on it, you know, and like understand that flavor profile. So I don't drink peated whiskey. Maybe peated whiskey is the problem. I really, really don't like scotch and like the peaty flavor of scotch. I'm just not a fan. Amazing is a strong word. If you like it that way, go for it. But yeah, I don't know, man. Like some whiskey needs at least a couple drops of water. Especially anything over 80 proof. It doesn't even matter about the cost there, Heister. If it's over 80 proof, you probably need to add at least a little bit of water to it. You know, depending on how you want to do it, for sure. I actually prefer most whiskey with Coca-Cola. I can still tell the difference between whiskeys when mixed with Coca-Cola. I can do that. I can absolutely know if one thing is Jack Daniels and another is something. Will I be able to pick which one is which? No, but I can taste the difference. You know? I've said that to someone and they were incredulous. They didn't believe me. When we talk about proof, it's the percentage, right? 80 proof is 40%. Yeah, proof is an old-timey thing from England. It was basically, and I forget the exact thing. It was like the amount of water you could pour on it before it would like ignite or something. Like, this is actually something I want to double check. The term proof originated in the 16th century in England, when British sailors would test the strength of liquor by mixing a small amount of rum with a pinch of gunpowder and igniting the mixture with a match. If the mixture ignited, it was considered proof of the alcohol content. The government would also soak a gun pellet with alcohol and try to set it on fire. Liquor with higher alcohol content was taxed more. So yeah, the proof system actually maps directly to the percentage. It's just basically double the percent. So 100 proof is 50% alcohol, etc. $64%? That is incredibly strong. I do not drink a 120 proof whiskey ever. That sounds like a terrible time. Why is Chris running down the street naked? Oh, he drank some 120 proof. Ah. Like, you know, people just get it at that point. Okay, got it. Makes sense. Yeah, that's like a ride to the hospital. Yeah, exactly. Sure, makes sense there, Heister. I'm speaking from the perspective of, and this is not a thing to brag about, a bottle of Four Roses disappearing within 2 days. Four Roses does go down ridiculously smoothly, though. Like, it is so good. But it's only 80 proof, which means 40%. But Four Roses is also just one of the smoothest, cheap whiskeys I can think of, which is crazy. But all right, so let's get back to it. What we end up needing to do now is implement FNV1A in all of the other SDKs that we have. It's definitely not healthy. Yeah, no, it's definitely not healthy. At some point, though, I will happily trade 20 years off the end of a 100-year life cycle for enjoying my life more. If it means the difference between living to 85 versus 65, I'm probably okay with 65. The 65 to 85 doesn't sound that good to me. If I'm being honest, that doesn't sound like the best living. Now, I might feel differently about that in the future. Yeah, I got longevity in my family. At the end of the day, though, like, how fun is the 80 to 100, like, portion of your life? How good is that? Once you hit 80, are you traveling much? Are you doing anything other than just existing? I don't know, man. That doesn't sound that fun to me. Yeah, I'm not going to be snowboarding at 80. It's not going to happen. One fall, and I shatter. They call me Mr. Glass, you know? That doesn't sound fun. I mean, X Factor at that point, yeah, just turn me into a brain in a vat, right? We're gonna get Futurama future, where I'm just like a brain sitting in a tube, right? Or my head or whatever, right? Sure, why not? Let's do that. More than I probably should. But yeah, no, for sure. Are you even an adult if you haven't had an existential crisis in the last 6 months? Any cute 81-year-old women in this chat? I doubt it. I don't think so. Hold on. Do you work as an undertaker? Yeah, there you go. All right. Let's actually get to some work. We want to get FNV1A implemented for all of these things. Except Four Wheel was talking about the wrestler. How do I become the Undertaker? The answers they found on Google were not the ones they were looking for. I definitely need to shave. Or should I start growing out the mustache? It easily takes me like a month before it's there, and I'm only 2 weeks away from going to a meetup, to like a conference. So I probably am not in a good place to have a good mustache at Render ATL. So I should probably end up just shaving. So Heister does not like this mustache. All right. Well, a lot of people do not like me trying to grow out the mustache, huh? I mean, some of y'all should remember when I had one. If you haven't seen it, there's a version of it, right? What was it? It was... What's the best video that has it? That one didn't. Nope, hold on. Let's do... Chris Griffin. Azure? Here we go. Yeah, this one has the mustache. No, hold on. We should just go straight to the YouTube. All right, so the hair definitely does lend itself towards the homeless aspect. Ignore the hair. And the mustache is fine, right? The mustache is fine. The hair is definitely homeless, though. The hair is definitely homeless. All right, you're not wrong. The hair is fully homeless. That is me, for sure. It's not that bad of a mustache. I've had worse. It's not that bad, is it? Come on. Do I still have that hoodie? I definitely still have that hoodie, for sure. Was that the look I was going for? No, like, this was COVID, man. I think a lot of us ended up looking somewhat like this during COVID, right? Some of the emotes, though? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can't do the beard thing. I can't do it. I can't do the beard. Right? These cheeks, they're so bare. Insanities, I never actually have a look I'm going for. I don't give a shit. I'm actually very, like, lightly caring about the way I present. I am what I am, right? Popeye style. I mean, I would love to understudy for the dude that did Gollum, right? What's that actor's name? I'd love to be his understudy. That'd be amazing. Andy Serkis. Yeah, I would love to be the Andy Serkis understudy. Filthy hobbitses. Like, yeah, totally. That wasn't good. Yeah, you know what? I need his direction. I need his advice on how to do it better. Fluffy, longer hair? Nah, my hair gets that, like, greasy effect, like, really quick. I do kind of miss the mustache, though. Take it easy. You don't have to do that. You can just say I look great. I don't care if there's anything behind it or not. I look fantastic. Why are we watching Melky? Ooh, nailed it. There you go, Zegrid Fred. It's not Melky, but that's a really good joke, and I like that one. Melky's like 10 years younger than me, at least. I think he's more than that. And he can already grow a better mustache than me. My favorite movie is Basketball. South Park guys, produced by the Zuckers, the guys that made Airplane. It's really good. Basketball. What an unfortunate thing to happen on Dozen Egg Night. Oh, it's very much different from Dumb and Dumber. No, no, no. Totally different. Totally different. Think the movie Airplane, but sports. Dumb and Dumber is not like the movie Airplane. Have you never seen the movie Airplane? I don't care where you're from. You've never seen Airplane? Well, now you have homework. I'm sorry. Like, yeah, now you have homework. Deal with it. From the director of Naked Gun. So you already know what you're into. Yeah, Basketball and Airplane should be on your must-watch list. But right now, I do need to go get some more water, probably use the restroom, and I'll be right back. I'll see y'all in just a sec. BRB. Alright, I'm back. Wait, more worried about what getting banned? What, because of the mustache? I think it's fine. All right, so let's just go through the list. Let's do C# first. Oh, this is where... the trackpad not working as it should is actually a huge bummer, because I can't actually reorganize these things. Mission control shortcuts. Okay. Weird. Alright. I'm gonna have to reboot this Mac Mini at some point then. Let me go check out shortcuts, actually. Nope, Control Tab does not do what I was looking for. Yeah, without the gestures, I don't know how to do any of this. All right, well, that's a bummer. I wish Control Up would actually show me the list. What I'm trying to do is see, like, the collection of my workspaces. No, I didn't have the right menu. What I want to be able to do is drag my workspaces into a specific order. I can switch between them, but the one I want is over here on the right. I want this one moved over to the left. And there is no shortcut for that. I would love it if I could press Control Up and it would show the thing at the top where I could actually drag and reorder my workspaces. But we don't get that. Is that it? Beshtar? I don't know how to pronounce your name. I might have asked before, but I forgot. Beshtar. All right, cool. We got there. All right, so here's something I'll do. We'll just close the ones we're not using. Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, so top level constants like that just don't exist. Oh, and you know what? We can just get rid of that and put it on the hasher. So it is math.abs. It compiles. Let's do it this way. Let's update the JS SDK and let's make those tests pass. All right, so we do hash string there, and signature stays the same. I think one big thing we're going to deal with is the fact that this test isn't going to work the way we expected. Hey, what up, Bedtime Bear? We just started chatting about WebDriver and some of that stuff earlier. Kind of figured your ears would have been burning. So you switch someone from Windows to Linux Mint. Interesting. So yeah, I'm not sure what you guys are mentioning there. I got a little distracted. Let me check it out. Oh, Linux Mint thing. Yeah. But yeah, interesting. So, the fact that convincing someone to use Linux Mint was simply it's free, that's kind of crazy. I would say you're probably better off introducing them to Ubuntu instead, because the moment they deal with a Linux Mint issue, they might burn the whole thing to the ground. Whereas at least Ubuntu, they can be productive. Is it? I thought Mint was, hold on, am I mixing that up? I thought Mint was, like, closer to, like, Arch, right? I thought, oh, it is based on Ubuntu. Okay, my bad. My mistake. I must be mixing that up with something else. I thought it was closely related to Arch. Is there like a prettier version of Arch that I'm thinking of, that I'm just like mixing up the name? Okay. No, I get it. That makes sense. I think I am thinking of Manjaro. That might be it. Okay. For some reason, I thought Mint was the, yeah, I thought that was just like a prettier version of Arch. Okay. Never mind. Totally different. My bad. My bad. All right, so we have this hash string function, but now our tests fail. And at this point, I need to think about how we could change things up to where they actually pass, and that has to do with how we're doing our testing. So the working seed versus the non-working seed. Let's look at what we got here. When we run test gradual, yeah, working seed 0.8, and that's not ideal. What if we were to change it? Working seed. Heyo! 0.69, eh? So we got past our gradual testing right there. That was actually kind of easy. So we expect the test to fail still for the client part because we haven't updated the JSON in there. Scheduling and gradual should pass. Test client does not. Oh. Unable to compile the TypeScript? Really? So they're saying test client line 14 is the issue there. Oh. All right, so that test needed to be updated. Yeah, you got to give them some, like, easy distro, for sure. All right, line 41 now. Will it blend? Nope, not yet. Interesting. Oh, there you go. Yeah. Hold on. Let me pin that message. Even though we're getting towards the end of stream today. Oh, I can't pin that message? Oh, you can't pin highlighted messages? There we go. Bam. Pinned it. There we go. Yeah, we got it. Yeah, we got there. All right, we're going to finish up this Basil Hayden. It was 4 roses, and then I finished the 4 roses. Now it's Basil Hayden. Which tastes very different. It tastes a little more like bready. It's almost like when you boil noodles. It tastes like that water. Yeah, Basil Hayden has much more of like a bready flavor to it, via contrast. 1 second. All right, so this error, flag group not found in manifest. That actually seems way off. And Rivanov, thank you for the follow. Welcome. How you doing? What you up to out there? Yeah, something seems really off about this, but I don't know what. Like, how would that be failing at this part of our code? I think this ends up being a problem for Monday. I really do. We got the hashing stuff to work in the way that we wanted, but for some reason it's not finding the flag group we're looking for, and that sounds like a way different error. So investigating that. Oh. Returned 404 on the manifest. Oh, well, that's actually the problem. Wait a minute. Do we not have a manifest in there? We definitely have a manifest. Just want to make sure this is consistently failing. Like, what if it was just like a random thing? All right, so yeah, I think we're late enough in the day that I should probably just raid someone. I do see that Glasses is still streaming. He's going like extra late, which is a perfect time because like we don't typically get a chance to raid Glasses at the Alt F4 stream. So this sounds perfect. So yeah, people over on YouTube, yep, we got a flaw in our testing. We finished up the blog post we were trying to do today. But now we actually need to get FNV1A as our algorithm for every language we do. And the first stop is the JavaScript SDK. And then from there, we need to port it to every other language too, right? All 8 that we support now, maybe 10, I forget the number. So that's some work. But the fact that we're failing out here is a huge issue. And yes, I'll be over on gaming in just a little bit. Gaming tonight will be with AlgoBro, Robotic Head, and not Acorn, because Acorn is traveling, but Space Case mentioned that they might want to join us. So yeah, I just need to go make a sandwich and eat some food. Soak up some of this whiskey. No, we're not co-working tonight. Tomorrow we'll be co-working. Yeah, so I'm thinking we're going to play some Helldivers, at least with the crew, and then maybe I play something solo afterwards. But at least for the time being, while we're all together and playing Helldivers 2, tomorrow is my day off of this stream. Exactly. And then, yes, it will be co-working over on Gaming Stream. I need to record some stuff in the morning and then edit that stuff all day tomorrow and hopefully finish that up so I can, like, launch it out. And then Monday is the day we're back on this stream solving this exact problem that we're seeing right now. So yeah, I'm going to say later to YouTube as we figure out someone to raid. Thank you all for hanging out. Appreciate you.